This is the VILTROX Retro 80X Studio Fill Light. I was sent this to review for free. If you wanted to purchase one, it would cost you $35. They haven't paid me for my review, so my opinions remain my own. Right, so in the box, you have a cold shoe attachment that has the 1/4x20 stud on the top, and then the cold shoe on the bottom with this thing that you can fix down to lock it in place. You can actually rotate these two halves of this nut separately to lock both to the camera and to the light. So here's the light itself. It comes in a little plastic bag, has a silica gel pack keeping it dry. And it has kind of a retro look with an aluminum case here and kind of a pleather overlay on that. It has a plastic front with LEDs inside of it. On the bottom you have your 1/4x20 mount also on the side here. It has a USB-C, it says 5 volts at 2 amps for charging. And on the side you have a red button, you have a M up, a set up, and a plus minus button here as well. Now in your hand, this thing definitely feels heavier than the plastic fill lights, and it weighs 8.1 ounces. You know, if you're looking in grams, that's 232 grams. It also includes a little charging cable, just a USB-A to USB-C charging cable. Alright, so this is an RGB fill light, and we're going to push the red button and see if it turns on. Okay, we have the setup here. It's pretty dim. I'm going to push a plus button, and I'm adjusting the red. So now red is all the way up. I can do minus and adjust the red down. I can use these function buttons to move up and down through different functions. And alright, so there's RGB, where you can adjust the red, the green, and the blue yourself. There's also white, so you can turn the white up. Let me go ahead and cycle through the red, green, blue and turn those all the way down. So there's the white LEDs all the way up. They have a Y, which are the yellow LEDs. So you can do, this is full brightness with white and yellow. So you have cool white and warm white LEDs both lit up there. You could also turn on the red, green, blue lights at the same time. So we're going to turn on every single LED this guy has to 100%. Alright, so right there you have all the LEDs on at 100%. They have RGB LEDs, which are doing RGB at 100%. You also have pure white and kind of pure yellow LEDs lighting this thing up to give you this guy here. So that's one of the modes where you just have full control over the entire set of LEDs. Yes, hidden under the container is a manual, so I can read that, figure out what all these modes are. So CCT mode, you can adjust the brightness and you can adjust the color temperature. That's what most people are probably going to be using most of the time. So it goes up to 8500 Kelvin and it goes down here to 2500 Kelvin. There's also an RG mode here. Let's see, you can add some red or some green to your light in addition to the yellow-white lights. And then of course there's HSI, where you can basically cycle through the hues around a 360-degree color wheel. And then there's a saturation as well. So apparently this thing also has a companion app, or the Wii Light Pro app will control it. So we're going to turn this guy on and see if we can control it with this app. Alright, it just automatically found it via Bluetooth. All I had to do is give it Bluetooth permissions, and now we can change HSV. So the app control is much easier than messing around with these buttons on the side. So normally when I hear that a little device has an app, you know, I'm like, I don't need an app for my shaver. But in this case, having the larger control panel really is nice. Also, you know, if you want to go strictly to a wave blue effect, you can change the speed, you can have the brightness change. You want to go to ambulance, boom, you hit ambulance and there's ambulance. So there's certain places where the user interface on your phone is going to be a lot better than on the buttons on the device. And this is one of those cases. You know, so I can automatically change to particular lighting modes. And so I think this is a place where having the app installed is worthwhile to control this device. So I think that the app is very nice. There's also a little feature where you can take a picture and pick a color from the picture and then shoot the light out of this thing. So I definitely appreciate the ability to control this via the app. I could see that being a little bit easier than messing around with the little buttons on the side. So by default, this guy says A1 or 1A as the Bluetooth ID, but if you push and hold the mode button for a couple of seconds, it will go into Bluetooth mode and you can change the channel and group. So it's potentially possible you could have multiple devices on different channels and groups, and you could flip with your app to control one set of devices versus a different set of devices. Now if you have only one, just leaving it to the default 1A is fine. The manual doesn't really tell you exactly what these modes are. So there's 5 of them. There's CCT, which is basically brightness and color temperature, and then there's a little bit of color compensation. There's HSL, which is basically hue, saturation, luminosity. There's RGBWY, which basically gives you control over the individual LED chips within the front face here. There's a COL, which is kind of a color chip, and so you can pick a color chip number and it'll do that type of light. And then there's a scene mode, which has basically different animations or fancy flash patterns or colors that they believe are one of these different types of scenes, like fireplace or TV or ambulance. Most people, I think, are going to be using this for CCT, where they'll be using it as a light just for shooting video. Now, if you're trying to do colors, you'll probably do HSL mode, where you can pick, you know, the saturation and the hue and so forth. So this cold shoe fits very easily into my camera. I definitely want to rotate this bottom nut down to do a little pinching there to make sure it doesn't fall out the back if I were to hold my camera this way. You know, it's not unreasonably heavy to add to a camera, but it definitely does add a little bit of weight there, and it affects the balance forward a little bit this way. So you know that's going to be there when you put it on. You're definitely going to notice that it's on there. Okay, we're going to plug this into a USB-C power delivery cable and see if it'll negotiate power delivery. It does look like it's negotiated power delivery there just fine. So the yellow battery indicator is just blinking, going from 1, 2 to 3 full little squares there. So we're going to power this guy, charge it all the way up, and then we'll do a runtime test at full power. So according to the case right here, this is the model Reto 08X, and its max power is 8 watts. The USB-C input is 5 volts at 2 amps, and the battery is 3.7 volts at 6 amp hours, or 6,000 milliamp hours. And I have put this in RGB white mode, and I have turned red, green, blue, the white and yellow LEDs all the way up to 100%. So this is putting out as much light as that guy can put out. We're going to put it down there. We have the time-lapse camera watching it, and we are going to see how long it goes at that full brightness. Okay, I ran this guy all the way down until it says low battery on it. We are going to plug this guy in and charge it. And I have reset the milliamp hour and watt hour counter. We will see how many watt hours it takes to charge this when I do this. It's drawing almost 1 amp, so it's doing 5 volts at 0.9 amps. Okay, I had to restart the charging. It's turned off on its own at one point, so I pushed the red button and it restarted. It looks to be fully charged, drawing 0.9 0.07 amps, and the total watt hours going in is 38 watt hours. So it took 38 watt hours to recharge this guy. It claims like a 22 watt hour battery, so that feels like it's definitely put in at least 22 watt hours into the battery. Alright, I've been pretty impressed with this guy. Its runtime at full power output was 3 hours and 45 minutes. And if it's actually putting out 8 watts of light, that's about 30 watt hours of power out. Now on the box, it claims a 22 watt hour battery inside, but when I charged it back up from being fully depleted, it took 38 watt hours to charge it back up. So I actually think that the battery inside might be a slightly higher capacity than they're advertising on the box, given the amount of runtime it has and the amount of power it took to charge it back up. So I'd say it's definitely meeting its specifications, possibly exceeding them. I like the Bluetooth app control of the light, so you could put this on a light stand and then adjust a fill light or an accent light on your subject while you're still at your camera. It looks really nice. The aluminum case is heavy. Yeah, I don't care too much about this kind of black fake leather look on the back here, but the aluminum case is heavy duty. Now the downside is if you're mounting this on a camera, it is significantly heavier than one of the cheap plastic cases would be. So it's great if it's on a light stand. It looks great. If it's going to be mounted on a camera, you're going to have to be able to handle just a little bit extra weight from that aluminum case. So that's a trade-off you're going to have to decide if you're willing to make yourself. But if you're looking for an accent light, this guy does everything any other accent light does, has a few extra features, has a nice aluminum case.